Welcome to Sparking Your Financial Fire, finding your inner motivation to set and achieve important goals. This is the first audio out of the 6-part audio training course, and this audio is called Where is My Spark? I'm Gretchen Oler-Hogg of Lighten Up and Thrive, Joyful Living for Mind, Body, and Soul, and Dr. Jerry Eddington and I are excited to help you live a richer, more fulfilling life, loaded with love, security, and moments that really matter. Understanding the architecture of motivation has helped millions of people help themselves and then help millions of other people. From inspiration to cultivation, to implementation, and to the final steps of completion, motivation is the often overlooked secret ingredient that turns good ideas into spectacular realities. Over the course of these 6 training modules, you will discover where the driving force of your motivation comes from, and then learn how to not only build it, but also fan those flames of inspiration until they become that 4-alarm inferno. So, as we uncover these gems, you might want to take some notes so that you can retain as much as possible, and then refer back to your discoveries, those aha moments, the next time that you get stuck. So go grab a laptop or your notepads or whatever that is and pause the recording. Okay, are you ready? Let's get started. In today's module, we will examine what motivation looks like for you and how to find the sparks of motivation in any endeavor. If I asked you, what is motivation? You could probably give me a general definition or offer an example of a motivational story. The most basic definition is, quite simply, the desire or willingness to do something. I'm sure at some point or another, we've all found the desire or the willingness to sit on the couch, eat ice cream, and binge and watch the latest Netflix original series or whatever that is. But finding motivation for easy things is, well, pretty easy. But what happens when you're trying to start a new project and you can't seem to find the fire to get going? Where do you begin? When the task at hand isn't immediately pleasurable, how do you find the desire or the willingness to press forward into uncharted territory? I mean, you already have a full life with limited time and energy. Now there's something new that you know you should do, but you're not 100% sold on it. In order to find out how to get that fire going, it's best to first ask yourself a few questions. And as we run through the short list, you might want to jot down the first answers that pop up. So don't think too much about these. Just go with your gut instincts. And maybe you can pause the recording while you write down your answers. So first, what is most important to you? Just take a few seconds and answer that. The second question is, what inspires you? Again, I'll give you a few seconds so that you can write down your answer or take more time and pause. Another question, what do you find yourself drawn to over and over throughout your life? Again, take a few seconds to answer that or pause the recording. You see, in order to build up some motivation, you must have a reason for the fire to exist. The flames of motivation don't magically appear out of thin air. Your fire begins with a pre-existing source of heat. You cannot create motivation from something unless you believe in it and find it meaningful. Fortunately, there's an internal drive that we all feel. This drive pushes us to do the things that we want to do beyond our basic needs. It may take the form of a clearly defined goal, maybe such as dropping 10 pounds before a friend's wedding, or running a marathon to raise money for cancer research. This drive can also take the form of a general feeling that you can't explain, such as the need to work with animals or children, or the desire to travel someplace exotic. You don't quite see the specifics, much less a clearly laid out path, but you feel that subtle pull. This is the seed of your motivation. This internal drive is where that spark is born. Fulfilling those dreams requires action, but there will be no action unless it's driven by the promise of a meaningful outcome. So that brings us to the meat of the matter here. How do you find motivation to do the things that don't seem so exciting, especially when the request comes from outside of yourself? For example, you may have a work project that seems super daunting, or an overwhelming list of honey-do home improvements. How do you find the spark to start those things? The first thing to do is to identify how your dreaded activity feeds your core desires. Those things that intrinsically drive you have threads that run into every area of your life. Maybe cleaning out the garage is the first step towards building your own photography studio. Perhaps that budget review for work is a great way to refine the skills needed to raise money for African elephant rescue mission. Whatever endeavor you're facing, it can have far-reaching benefits, and remembering the bigger picture makes it easier to tackle that task at hand. The second step is just to get started. Often the things that you dread actually become enjoyable once you begin. You start to find meaning, to build momentum, and soon you discover motivation that you never knew existed. The more steps you take, the more your intensity grows, and the more sacrifices you're willing to make in order to complete your journey. Taking action is what starts a lot of these fires. Sure, you may get halfway to your goal and find you want to go in a different direction, but that's something you would never have known had you not started moving at all, had you not started taking some form of action. Plus, once you're in motion, you start to see how your current endeavors feed your greater desires, and staying on track becomes a lot easier then. To summarize, no matter what you're doing, the most potent ways to build initial motivation are to know what matters most to you. Remind yourself of how the task serves your core desires, and then just start moving, just start doing. The next step, of course, is keeping the fire going. So Jerry and I invite you to join us for the next audio training, where we'll discuss just how to do that, keeping that fire going. So until then, keep on thriving.